Hey guys, we've got another deep dive video for you today. So we're going to be looking at Microsoft Fabric. So all the details around that, from setting it up to bits and pieces about SQL database within Fabric. And we've got a really good demo coming later on. So Mitesh, why don't you tell us a little bit more about what we're going to look at today?
Yep, thanks, Adam. We're going to take a look at the SQL database preview feature as part of Fabric. So it starts with Azure SQL Database, and more's going to be added. But what we're going to do is we're going to show how we set it up. How do we start the trial all the way to creating a database? How do we connect our application to that database? And then also, how does the reporting work? How does that data in the backend work? And then build a Power BI report from that data. So we're going to try and do an end-to-end demo of that, because I couldn't find one anywhere easily, so we've just created our own one. So hopefully it'll be useful for someone. So yeah, let's get stuck in. Okay, so we'll start with a quick introduction to what is SQL database in Fabric, and what is Fabric even, and what's the big deal about having SQL or databases as part of Fabric. We'll do a demo of setting up the trial and the tenant setting that you need to enable, and we're going to do a demo of the analytics feature of Power BI, and also going to add a bonus thing about connecting your application to be able to connect to that database. Okay, so firstly, Microsoft Fabric is a one-stop solution for your data analytics, and it's got AI built into it. There's many different features inside there, where previously for a data analytics solution, you would have to create all these services, or Data Factory, your Synapse Analytics or whatever, or Databricks, whatever. For your data analysts and your data engineers, you'd have to manage them separately, create them all separate, and they'd all have their own different sizing and different SKUs and different pricing. Now, what Fabric does is brings that all together in one kind of a SaaS solution. And what it's also doing is storing all your data in a OneLake in the backend, all in a common open Delta Parquet format, so you can interact with that data from both within Fabric and other third-party tools. And it's not a proprietary method of accessing those. Not a proprietary method, basically, of accessing that data, and it's all using the ADLS v2 Gen 2 data lake storage, so it's accessible very easily from all your other applications, and we'll take a look at that as well. So what's new as part of Fabric is that Microsoft have added the databases feature, and the plan is to add more database. I think the next one's going to be Cosmos DB, but they're going to be adding more databases into that section in the future. But we're starting with the Azure SQL Database, which is their native Azure SQL Database offering, and now that's available as part of Fabric as well. And that's the part that we're going to look at today and demonstrate for you. So what is the point of it? So, the idea and Microsoft vision is to allow AI applications to be built faster, more efficiently, and use it as a software as a service, that whole database. And they've got statistics and things on their website showing it will allow for faster task execution. It gives developers and citizen developers and application developers a lot more confidence in completing tasks. And a lot of that is to do with the AI and the Copilot help that's available in the platform as well. And it's not necessarily just AI applications; it's kind of any application where you need a backend database. Okay, so the key thing, the really important thing about the database preview, if you take nothing else away, is how the near real-time replication to the OneLake by default works. So you've got an analytical or OLTP type database where you've got your transactions flowing into that database. Now, typically what you'd have to do is take that data, extract it, transform it, load it into a staging area or into a data warehouse or a cube or an OLAP service. And what this is doing is actually taking that part and automatically putting it into a OneLake by default. So it's already ready for analytical usage. So you're not then hammering your OLTP database with reporting queries, and you also don't have to extract it anymore. So that's the biggest benefit, and we're going to show you that as well. So you can use that for your operational and analytics. It's all unified in one platform, all in one standard Delta Parquet format, as I mentioned. And it's open source Delta, so it's not a proprietary thing, so anybody can access that. And you also get that SQL Analytics endpoint as well. So that's something that we'll see when we create a database. You automatically get that SQL Analytics endpoint, and the data is already in there for you to start reporting off pretty much straight away. Okay, and you can see that in this diagram here. So you've got the database, and then you've got your analytics endpoint that gets created, and we'll show you that as well in this part of the demo. So what problem is it trying to solve? So as I mentioned, there's all the different components of a data analytics platform, and you've got to choose the right components, the right sizing, the right infrastructure and architecture. And what this is doing is making it a lot more simpler. Basically, with the SQL part of it as well, it integrates it into Fabric, and it integrates into those data analytics tools, and also the OneLake database. It's secured by default. It's already got the HA and the DR capabilities built into it, which we'll look at on the next slide. And it's also got the auto scaling, the auto optimization. So there's features like index tuning, updating statistics, and those kind of things, which I think we'll come on to. So a lot of the management tasks that you may have had to do before, and also the specific SKUs where you previously had to select which ones you wanted to make highly available across zones, that's already there by default. Okay, so they've tried to make it simple, autonomous, and secure, and it's also optimized for AI, and I'll show you an example of that as well. Okay, so you've got, as I mentioned, you've got the HA with zone redundancy. So those databases are across availability zones. It automatically manages the scaling. It'll automatically replicate that data to OneLake without any ETL process. So that's the biggest. That's the kind of the biggest deal about this thing. Automatically updates your indexes and statistics. And it also uses intelligent query processing to help developers make sure their indexes and their queries are optimized. It also has automated backups, point-in-time restore available, and we don't need to worry about patching or anything like that. Okay, it's very easy to provision. We have AI assistants. You can use it from the editor built into the platform, and you can also use TSQL, which we'll take a look at as well. And an example of the AI assistant. So previously, when you would have to create a query, you can ask Copilot, just give me the top 10 selling products, for example, from your sales database, and it will go and generate that query for you. So there's lots of really good, powerful Copilot features in there. Now, just note that you don't get the Copilot features in the trial version, so you get that once you upgrade, or if you've got the right licenses.
So Mitesh, how will we get started with all of those different bits and pieces you spoke about? Because they sound really interesting. But if we don't know anything about Fabric, where do we go? How do we get started with it?
Yeah, so Microsoft are offering a 60-day free Fabric trial as well. So it's kind of a quite high capacity instance as well. I think it's an F64 you get for free. So what you need to do is you go into the Fabric URL, enable the free trial, and also then enable the database feature as well. So what I'll do is I'll show you how we do that. So basically, you go to the fabric.microsoft.com portal, you go into your account, select the free trial button there. So that one on the that's one on the right. So you click on that, and that'll start your trial capacity. You have got options to cancel it and upgrade it and those kind of things as well.
Brilliant.
Fill in your details.
That's limited capacity with what they give you for 60 days, and then that gets
Correct.
taken away. Brilliant.
Yeah. Okay, so we've got that in place now. So then what you need to do is a lot of the settings are done at the tenant level. So what you need to do is go to your settings and go to your admin portal in there, and then you'll get to the tenant settings, and you'll see that here. And one of the things for the SQL part, we need to enable that. So that's the preview. So once that's enabled, then you can start using that feature. And you can also lock that down just to specific groups. So you could have a database admins group, for example, and you could use that, or you could just do it for the whole entire organization, which we've done here just for testing and playing with. And that's where most of your tenant level settings are. There's also things for Copilot and those kind of things. That's where you would enable those things, which we'll probably look at another time.
Brilliant. So we're going to go through a couple of bits, setting up different bits and pieces for Fabric, looking at SQL database as well. So Mitesh, what we're going to look at, and let's jump into it.
Yeah, cool. Thanks, Adam. Hi, everyone. We're going to create a database in Fabric using the SQL database preview feature. What we're going to do is we're going to create an application, connect to that. We'll load the data with the database with some test data. We'll also then take a look at the reporting, the SQL analytics endpoint, and then just show a basic Power BI report, just so we can see that end-to-end solution there. So it's going to be quite basic and high level, but I just wanted to show the whole way through. So if we start going to the fabric.microsoft.com portal, it'll take you here, and let's just click on database to start with. And what we need is a workspace to start with. So we're going to just create a workspace, give it a name. So we're going to call that demo. Wait, just give it a name. Can you even put an image on there? There we go. Put an image on there. So now what do we want to put in that workspace? In this case, we're going to create a SQL database. So you can go and search for it. So these are all the different features you can have in there. Let's just find SQL. Then you can see the SQL database preview. So if we click on that, you've got, what do we want to call it? So we're going to call that demo SQL DB. Okay, great. Now it's going to create that object for us. And that'll take a second. Okay, great. So now you can see we've got our database here. It's got nothing in there. So what we'll do is we'll just load it with some sample data. So I can just click on that. It's going to import some sample data. I think that's the AdventureWorks stuff. It's going to pump into there. And you can see the progress of that up here as well. So if you look at the notification bar, you can see it there. So it's going to import that. So let's give that a minute.
So while that's importing the data, Mitesh, what are we going to end up with once we've set all this up? What's it going to look like for the end user?
Yeah, so once that's set up, it's already done. What it's going to do is going to create the database, and we can see our AdventureWorks here. Now, the key thing with all of this with Fabric is about the analytics. So what we'll see now here, we can see our analytical endpoint here, which is probably not quite ready yet. So yeah, what we'll see is we'll see a database. It's going to create a SQL warehouse analytics endpoint as well. So basically it's going to take a copy of that data and put it in that open Delta Parquet format, which we can then report on. So that's pretty much in real time as well. So as we're using our OLTP database for our applications and we've got transactions going through, that database is automatically going to be replicated to the OneLake. So we can see that data and start reporting on it. And so what we'll try to do is take a look at that in a moment. So we'll refresh that, and then we can, if we put this in, we're going to be able to find that record in theory. And there is. So we can see Orlando's bike shop. That's the bike shop that we created. So this is not actually, this is a read-only copy of that data, and it's there for analytical purposes. So we can see we can carry on making changes to our application, and that will then get filtered down to this OneLake. So that's how we can connect to the database, and how we can see that database in the analytical backend.
Brilliant.
So the next thing, yeah, no worries. So the next thing we can do is go to the reporting section, which then takes us to the Power BI platform. So if I look at that here and I click on new report, and then it'll say, well, it's going to create, it's kind of going to create a semantic model for Power BI. In this case, let's just select all these tables. These are the ones that we want. In fact, what you can do is just check, because there is also a products table, but it has not brought that one in. So in which case, let's go and select the tables we want rather than let it choose for us. So that way you'll get the relationships, etc. So let's just, I'm going to add quite a few of these in, add them all in, confirm. It doesn't bring the products in by default. Okay, so there's our data. Now we can click on that, and we've basically got a copy of that data as well down in here. So the way you can see that, so it's got warehouse. We're in the warehouse space here, and the SQL Analytics endpoint, which we'll take a look at in a moment. But if we go back to the database, what I'll do is firstly, we'll create a quick application in PowerApps just to show how we can connect to this database. So if I go into settings, and we can see our connection strings here, what we're going to do is going to take the name of the database it's created for us inside Fabric. So if I take a copy of that, then I'm going to go to make.powerapps.com. I saw this on one of the Microsoft videos, so we thought we'd try that out, and it's a good little demo. So if we go to create SQL Server, so So it's just basically is going to create a blank application with a SQL backend. So it's going to create some forms for us by default. So we can use, I'm going to create a new connection. And we look for SQL Server here. Use Entra ID to authenticate, create that. It's going to choose which account I want. So I'm just going to use my Entra account. Paste in the server name that we got from Fabric. Then go back to get the catalog, so the actual database, which should be this bit here. Paste that into there. And then we'll have a connection it's going to create, so we can see which tables we want to work on. So in this application, I'm just going to let's look at the customer table. Connect to that, and it's going to build that application. We've got connection to our database, so whatever data you want to work with, you can use from here inside your SQL database.
Brilliant. So and if we just hop back to Fabric quickly, Mitesh.
Yeah.
And that connection string. Say we hadn't worked with this before, and we were trying to identify, which bits the database name, which bits the SQL Server name. What do we need to look for within that connection string to identify that?
Good question. Yeah. So you start with the data source equals here, so you can see there, and you're gonna get a fabric.microsoft.com URL there. So you would use that. Let's just zoom in on that, so you can see data source, Fabric. You can see the .database is kind of like a standard database URL, but it's inside Fabric. And then the catalog in normal SQL language is the database name. So you just need to put that in. You've created. So obviously in the real world, you'd have different credentials and those kind of things. But for this, we're just using my credentials and we can connect.
Brilliant.
Okay, so now if I go to the app, I can see the database there, and I can press play. Press play, and then we can do a search. Let's look for Adam. Is anybody called Adam in our database? No. I know somebody's called Orlando. So Orlando's got these records in here, and we can do just and then we can even edit this here. Its company name. Let's call that Orlando's Bike Store, for example. So I'm going to change the company name in this part. Okay, so then when we go back into into Fabric, we can see our database, and if we click on the analytics endpoint and we go to queries, down here, I've got my queries, and we can create a new query, and we can do select star from. It's still got the schema in there, customer where company name. Let's just find that. It's gonna find that record, and if it doesn't, what we need to do is just do a refresh here. So there's jobs and things you can set up to keep that refreshed as well. So we'll refresh that, and then we can, if we put this in, we're going to be able to find that record in theory, and there is. So we can see Orlando's bike shop. That's the bike shop that we created. So so this is not actually, this is a read-only copy of that data, and it's there for analytical purposes. So we can see we can carry on making changes to our application, and that will then get filtered down to this OneLake. So that's how we can connect to the database, and how we can see that database in the analytical backend.
Brilliant.
So the next thing, yeah. No worries. So the next thing we can do is go to the reporting section, which then takes us to the Power BI platform. So if I look at that here and I click on new report, and then it'll say, well, it's going to create, it's kind of going to create a semantic model for Power BI. In this case, let's just select all these tables. These are the ones that we want. In fact, what you can do is just check, because there is also a products table, but it has not brought that one in. So in which case, let's go and select the tables we want rather than let it choose for us. So that way you'll get the relationships, etc. So let's just, I'm going to add quite a few of these in, add them all in, confirm. It doesn't bring the products in by default. Okay, so now we're actually in the Power BI area here. So what we can do is then, now I'm not a developer, I'm not a Power Data Analytics report writer. So what I'll do is we'll bring the data in, but it will look terrible. So what you'll need is somebody who's good at building reports. So if I look at that, and look at company name potentially, and you can see all the company names in there, and then we can potentially do a filter. Let's do a filter on first name, so we can find our person. See Orlando in there, and you can see he's still got that existing record. He's got another record, Orlando Spike still. So that's the record that we updated in the other end. So that's kind of just a very basic end-to-end. How do we create the database? How do we set the tenant up as well? You can see that in that previous section. How do we bring that data in? How do we access the analytics endpoint? So you can see that you've got the data warehouse bit here, and you've got the SQL bit here, and you let's just save that. Port 1, just to show you. If I go back to here, you see we queried that with a standard SQL query. We didn't need to do anything special, but yeah, it'll handle all kinds of stuff in there as well. So yeah, it's just an overview, and you can see your report here. We've created a workspace, and we've pulled that data through all the way through to the back end. And then from here, you probably need to modify your semantic models, put some links in between the tables, and we might do that in a future one. And then you can build much more useful reports on this one. But this is just to show you that end-to-end. You've got an OLTP database, you've got your applications using it. Now you want to report on it. What do you need to do? Previously, to do the whole ETL process. Now it's all there. That data is already there, ready for reporting for you. So yeah, hopefully that gives a half decent demo of just the workflow of the whole end-to-end process. There's a lot more that you can do. You can bring more data sources in there. You can set up data pipelines and all kinds of things. But
no, definitely a good demo. And I mean, I hadn't seen Fabric going into this, and I hadn't used any of it at all. So it's really great to see just how easy it is to get started with it.
Yeah.
And to get that data in there, and in 10, 15 minutes, we've got something set up and working, and we can actually see the data flowing through from all the different elements. So it's really good, definitely.
Just another a quick demo. What I'll do is we'll just show you, creating a pie chart or something, just so we've not just got a table with 2 rows in it. So if we look at, let's say, order quantity, and let's look at that by country or region, we can do a bar chart, a pie chart. We can look at it that way as well. So there's all kinds of things we can do in Power BI, but this is just a demo. There's more available than just tables. So yeah. Just a quick note on the security side as well. So it's using your Entra ID authentication as a security layer. In terms of network, you can lock this stuff down to a private endpoint as well. But it's at the tenant level, so everything through the tenant would be going through a private endpoint, so it's all or nothing. What's going to be happening is they're going to be locking that down at the workspace level, so each workspace can then manage their own private endpoints into the environment, so you can do that as well, or you will be able to pretty soon.
Brilliant.
All right.
I love it.
Yep. Okay. Well, hopefully that was useful, and yeah, thanks very much for watching.
Yeah, thanks for watching, everyone. If you want to know more about Fabric, we'll pop some links down in the description. We'll have some blog articles as well. And stay tuned to our YouTube channel for our future videos. We're going to be doing some more demos over the coming months. So yeah, get subscribed. Leave us a comment if you've got any questions. And if not, we'll see you in the next one.
Brilliant. Thanks, everyone. Cheers, Adam.
Cheers, guys.